Deep in the Louisiana bayous, where ancient cypress trees cast eerie shadows across murky waters, a group of fearless hunters made their living wrestling with prehistoric predators. For over a decade, we've watched them navigate treacherous swamps, their lives governed by danger, tradition, and the unforgiving laws of nature. But what happens when the cameras stop rolling? Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the dark secrets that lurk beneath the surface of reality television. Some stories end in tragedy, others in handcuffs. All of them will shock you to your core. This is the untold story of Swamp People cast members who are dead or in jail. And trust me, you won't believe what really happened when the spotlight faded. The Molinare Dynasty Falls picture this: a father and son duo with over 6 decades of gator hunting experience between them. R.J. Molinare Jr., a world champion arm wrestler whose grip could crush bones. His son, Jay Paul, a Golden Gloves boxer with fists that could drop a man in seconds. Together, they were unstoppable legends of the Louisiana swamps. But on August 8, 2013, their reputation would crumble in the parking lot of a convenience store. It started as road rage and a moment of heated anger that spiraled completely out of control. The Molinaires didn't just let it go, they followed their target to Roland's Mini Mart in Bourg, Louisiana, where what happened next would haunt their legacy forever. Witnesses watched in horror as these two powerful men cornered a 24-year-old victim. A beer bottle became a weapon. Fists became instruments of violence. When the dust settled, the young man lay battered. Black eye swollen shut, jaw distorted, a grotesque knot bulging from his forehead. The irony? In court, the Molinaires claimed they were the victims. Their defense painted a picture of self-defense, alleging the victim had thrown the first bottle at their vehicle. But the evidence spoke louder than their excuses. While they managed to avoid jail time through legal maneuvering, their reputation was forever tarnished. The kings of the swamp had fallen and their empire would never recover. A family legacy cut short. Randy Edwards wasn't supposed to die that way. Born into a dynasty of legendary swamp hunters, he carried the weight of generations on his shoulders. His father Junior, his mother Teresa, his brother Willie, all legends of the Atchafalaya River Basin. September 15th, 2018 started like any other morning. Randy climbed into his 2002 Chevrolet Silverado, unaware he was driving toward destiny. The clock showed early morning hours as he navigated the familiar roads of Iberville Parish. Then came the curve on LA 76, a bend in the road he'd taken countless times before. But this time was different. Tragically, fatally different. The truck veered right, slamming into a utility pole with devastating force. Metal twisted, glass shattered. The vehicle rolled over and over, ejecting Randy into the unforgiving Louisiana earth. At just 35 years old, surrounded by the same wilderness that had made him famous, Randy Edwards drew his final breath. The aftermath revealed a heartbreaking truth: no seatbelt, suspected impairment, and a toxicology report that would remain forever sealed. Behind him, he left a wife and 3 young children who would grow up without their father's guiding hand. The Edwards family legacy lived on, but a piece of their heart was buried with Randy that September morning. From hunter to hunted, Roger Rivers lived by a simple creed. I don't do this for the money. I do it to live off the land. It's what I do, and I love it. But love can make a man do terrible things. Rivers burst onto Swamp People during Season 5 like a force of nature. Here was a hunter who didn't just catch alligators, then he battled them. One legendary encounter saw a massive 12-foot, 7-inch beast attack his boat, hurling him into the dark waters. Most men would have fled. Rivers fought back, subdued the monster, and earned his place among the swamp's elite. Yet beneath the surface, a darker current was flowing. May 2017 brought a reckoning that shattered Rivers' carefully crafted image. When authorities finally closed their net, the charges read like a criminal enterprise. 6 counts of selling alligator snapping turtles, 3 counts of selling reptiles without a license, taking alligators illegally, selling deer meat, and yes, marijuana possession. The subsistence hunter had become a poacher. The man who claimed to live off the land was actually exploiting it for profit. But Rivers' criminal saga was far from over. In September 2022, another bombshell dropped. This time, it was contractor fraud, taking $6,000 from a client for work he never intended to complete. The pattern was clear: a man willing to deceive anyone for easy money. Today, Rivers remains defiant, stating he'll continue his lifestyle till I die. But his legacy is forever stained by greed and broken laws. When heroes become monsters. Joseph Trapper Joe Lefant embodied everything fans loved about swamp people. Alongside his stepson Tommy Chovin, he represented the rugged spirit of Cajun swamp life. A man who understood the ancient rhythms of the bayou better than anyone. But behind closed doors, a monster was lurking. June 2012, the Buena Vista Palace Hotel near Walt Disney World, a place meant for family memories and magical moments. Instead, it became the scene of a nightmare that would expose Trapper Joe's true nature. Hotel guests watched in shock as Lefant turned violent against his girlfriend. The arrest affidavit reads like a horror story, punching her in the chest, shaking her with brutal force, attempting to burn her flesh with a lit cigarette. Both were intoxicated, but alcohol doesn't excuse what witnesses saw that night. Incredibly, his victim refused to press charges, but the pattern was already established. 3 years later in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, history repeated itself with even more devastating consequences. This time, Lefant's violence left his live-in girlfriend with 2 broken ribs. Injuries so severe they required medical confirmation, yet so shameful she initially refused treatment. Again, she wouldn't press charges. Again, Lefant walked away. By 2016, swamp people had seen enough. The man who once represented their brand disappeared from the show, his absence speaking volumes about behavior that could no longer be ignored or excused. The swamp had lost one of its most charismatic figures, but gained something more valuable: the knowledge that some lines should never be crossed. When apprenticeship turns to assault, Nicholas Payne thought working alongside Bruce Mitchell would launch his career. Instead, it ended with him behind bars and his dreams drowning in the Louisiana mud. September 23rd, 2011, Pearl River, Louisiana. What started as a domestic disturbance call would explode into a violent confrontation that ended Payne's television career before it truly began. Picture the chaos. Payne, locked out of his own home, creating such a commotion that neighbors called for help. When deputies arrived, they expected a routine disturbance call. What they got was a fist to a female officer's chest as she tried to issue a simple citation. But Payne wasn't finished. As officers moved to arrest him, he bolted into the nearby woods like a hunted animal. The K-9 unit was called in, and when the tracking dog finally cornered him, it left its mark, literally, with a bite that required emergency medical treatment. The investigation revealed even darker truths. Payne had been running from more than just local law enforcement. Outstanding warrants in Florida for drug paraphernalia possession painted the picture of a man whose problems ran much deeper than one night's bad decisions. Bail set at $10,000 might as well have been $10 million. Payne couldn't pay it, and his time in jail stretched on indefinitely. The History Channel's response was swift and final. Payne was done, his involvement severed before the season even wrapped filming. An apprenticeship that should have launched a career instead became a cautionary tale about how quickly everything can fall apart. The king's fall from Grace Troy Landry, the king of the swamp himself, seemed untouchable. For over a decade, he'd been the face of alligator hunting, a living legend whose expertise and charisma made him a household name. But even kings can fall. September 19th, 2024, Lake Palourde, St. Mary Parish. An anonymous tip would set in motion events that would tarnish a legacy built over decades. Louisiana Department of Wildlife agents set up surveillance after receiving reports of unauthorized alligator hunting. What they witnessed would shock fans worldwide. Troy Landry, accompanied by a young woman and cameraman, approaching illegal hunting lines marked with distinctive white flags. The agents watched as the woman retrieved a line holding a living, breathing 7 to 8 foot alligator. They witnessed Troy spear and dispatch the creature. They documented him loading it onto his boat, all without proper tags for that location. When confronted, Landry first claimed innocence. "We were just scouting the area." But faced with undeniable evidence, the king's story crumbled. He admitted to harvesting the alligator illegally and confessed to cutting loose a dead alligator earlier that day. The penalties were severe: 2 citations, potential fines of up to $950 each, and the possibility of 120 days in jail. Authorities seized his boat, engine, and the improperly tagged alligator, physical evidence of a legend's downfall. When reporters pressed for comment, Landry's response was telling. "I got a speeding ticket also last month, but I have nothing to say about it." Comparing wildlife violations to a traffic ticket revealed just how disconnected he'd become from the severity of his actions. The king of the swamp had fallen, and his kingdom would never look the same. When fear leads to felony chase. Landry grew up in the shadow of greatness, learning the swamp's secrets from his legendary father Troy. But on September 2nd, 2016, fear would transform the young hunter into something he never intended to become: a criminal. Picture the scene: bayou chain, Terrebonne Parish. Chase's skiff, heavy with freshly harvested alligator carcasses, sat low in the water. In the distance, a shrimp boat approached at what Chase perceived as dangerous speed. Fear gripped him. The wake from a fast-moving vessel could capsize his overloaded skiff, sending him and his valuable cargo into the murky depths. In that moment of panic, Chase made a decision that would haunt him forever. The gunshot echoed across the bayou like thunder. His bullet found its mark: a plastic gasoline can on the shrimp boat's cabin. Fuel began leaking as the vessel's operator, Wayne Moyen, realized he was under attack from 250 yards away. Moyen later insisted he posed no threat, but Chase's fear had already triggered irreversible consequences. The Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office investigation was swift. During a traffic stop in St. Mary Parish, Chase was located and detained. Under questioning, he admitted to firing the shot, citing safety concerns about the approaching vessel's speed and proximity. The charge was serious: illegal discharge of a weapon. The booking into Terrebonne Parish Jail was swift. The damage to his reputation and his family's legacy was immeasurable. Chase's case sparked heated debates about hunter safety and the extreme measures some will take when they feel threatened. But in the end, fear had transformed a respected hunter into a defendant facing serious criminal charges. A heart that couldn't keep up. Some deaths come with violence. Others arrive with the quiet finality of a body simply giving up. For Mitchell Gist, May 14, 2012 brought an ending that was as peaceful as it was heartbreaking. At 47 years old, Mitchell embodied everything authentic about swamp people. Alongside his inseparable brother Glenn, he lived completely off the land, hunting, fishing, embracing a self-sufficient lifestyle that resonated deeply with viewers hungry for genuine connection to nature. The morning of his death started like countless others. Mitchell was working on a houseboat near Bell River, his weathered hands performing the same tasks they'd mastered over decades of swamp living. Then, without warning, his body simply stopped. Witnesses described him collapsing suddenly, one moment upright and working, the next fallen and motionless. Initial reports suggested a seizure, but the truth was simpler and somehow more tragic. Mitchell's heart, worn down by years of demanding physical labor in unforgiving conditions, had finally given out. CPR was administered immediately. Emergency responders rushed him to a local hospital. But some battles can't be won, no matter how hard you fight. The History Channel's statement captured the profound loss. We are extremely saddened to report that our friend and beloved member of the Swamp People family, Mitchell Gist, has passed away. Mitchell passed on the swamp, doing what he loved. Those final words, doing what he loved, became his epitaph. In a world increasingly disconnected from nature, Mitchell died as he lived, authentically, on his own terms, in harmony with the wilderness that had shaped his entire existence. His brother Glenn, his fellow cast members, and fans worldwide mourned the loss of a true swamp legend, whose heart was simply too big for this world to contain. Surviving the unsurvivable. Not every story ends in death or imprisonment. Some end with the kind of miraculous survival that makes you question everything you thought you knew about human resilience. Tommy Chovin, known as Trigger Tommy to fans, seemed to have a target painted on his back by fate itself. Twice death came calling. Twice he found a way to answer with defiance. May 2012 brought his first brush with eternity, a devastating 5-car pileup near the Arkansas-Louisiana border that left other victims with serious injuries. Tommy and his stepfather, Joe Lefant, walked away physically unscathed, protected by what Tommy later described as his boat acting as a shield during the crash. But fate wasn't finished with Tommy Chovin. July 2019 brought an explosion that would have ended most men's stories permanently. The blast was so violent, so devastating, that it traumatically amputated Tommy's right hand and thumb. His eardrums ruptured, his eyes suffered damage. His chest and arms were covered in multiple abrasions that painted a horrific picture of the moment everything went wrong. 2 surgeries followed, desperate attempts to salvage whatever remained of his primary hand. But some damage runs too deep for medical intervention. The extent of his injuries led to significant, permanent loss of function, ending not just his career as a boat shed builder, but forcing him to miss the alligator hunting season that had defined his identity. The community rallied around him. A GoFundMe campaign raised money for medical expenses and family support. But money can't buy back what was lost in that explosion. The physical capability that had made Tommy Chovin who he was. The COVID-19 pandemic provided the perfect cover for a difficult decision. Tommy retired from alligator hunting and his role on Swamp People, choosing to focus on health and family rather than continue risking a life that had already survived more than any man should endure. Sometimes survival isn't about avoiding death. It's about knowing when to stop tempting it. The wild man's wildest ride. Dusty Chrome earned his nickname the Wild Man by doing what others wouldn't dare, hunting massive Burmese pythons in Florida's Everglades with fearless determination. But his closest encounter with death had nothing to do with serpents. November 4th, 2021, Interstate 77, Florida. Dusty was a passenger in a truck hauling a trailer when physics and bad luck collided in the worst possible way. The tire blowout came without warning. One moment they were traveling safely down the highway. The next, the driver was fighting for control as the vehicle began to fishtail. Then came the rollover. Not once, not twice, but 3 complete rotations that turned the world into a spinning nightmare of metal, glass, and terror. During the 3rd roll, Dusty's leg was ejected through the broken window. The full weight of the flipping truck crushed down on his lower limb as momentum carried the vehicle over his trapped appendage. Most men would have lost consciousness from the pain. Dusty somehow found the strength to pull his mangled leg back inside the cabin. What happened next separated Dusty from ordinary men. Using his shirt as a tourniquet, he applied pressure to stop the bleeding while waiting for emergency responders. That improvised medical intervention likely saved his life. The airlift to Lee Memorial Hospital in Fort Myers was just the beginning. 5 surgeries followed, each one a battle to repair the severe damage to his lower right leg and knee. Doctors weren't optimistic about saving the limb. The injuries were simply too extensive. But Dusty Chrome didn't earn his reputation by giving up. Nearly a month in the hospital was followed by intensive rehabilitation. Against all odds, he not only kept his leg, but returned to active duty in 2023, participating in Swamp People Serpent Invasion. proving that some men are simply too stubborn to stay down. The wild man had survived his wildest ride, emerging with scars that told a story of resilience that few humans could match. A dog's love story. Sometimes the purest hearts belong to those who can't speak our language. Tyler the Swamp Dog proved that loyalty knows no boundaries, not even the boundary between human and animal. Originally adopted from a local shelter as a gift for Bruce Mitchell's youngest daughter, Janice, Tyler quickly found his true calling alongside Bruce in the dangerous waters of the Louisiana bayous. What started as a family pet evolved into something much more profound. A hunting partnership built on mutual trust and unconditional love. Tyler wasn't just along for the ride, he became an integral part of Bruce's hunting operation, retrieving prey, alerting his human partner to hidden dangers, even diving into murky swamp water to assist with hunts. Fans watched in amazement as this remarkable dog demonstrated intelligence and courage that rivaled any human cast member. But even the strongest hearts have limits. Congestive heart failure began to weaken Tyler's body, though his spirit remained unbroken. Despite his declining health, he refused to abandon his post beside Bruce. Every hunt became a testament to determination over physical limitation. April 28, 2014 brought the peaceful ending that every beloved pet deserves. Tyler passed away in his sleep, surrounded by the family that had given him purpose and received his devotion in return. Bruce's heartfelt Facebook message captured what Tyler meant to everyone who knew him. 13 years of a life well lived, deeply missed, forever remembered. In a world of human drama and controversy, Tyler the Swamp Dog reminded viewers what pure loyalty looked like. His legacy lives on in every fan who learned that sometimes the best cast members are the ones who never say a word. The final tally. The Louisiana swamps have always been unforgiving. A place where nature's laws supersede human civilization. For over a decade, swamp people brought these harsh realities into our living rooms, showcasing hunters who lived by their own rules in one of America's last frontiers. But reality television couldn't protect these men and women from reality itself. We've witnessed legends fall from grace through violence and greed. We've mourned those taken too soon by fate's cruel hand. We've celebrated survivors who refused to let tragedy define their stories. The Molinares learned that strength means nothing without wisdom. Randy Edwards reminded us how fragile life truly is. Roger Rivers proved that even heroes can become villains. Trapper Joe showed us how power corrupts when left unchecked. Nicholas Payne discovered that opportunity squandered is opportunity lost forever. Troy Landry learned that even kings must follow the law. Chase Landry found out that fear makes poor decisions. Mitchell Gist died doing what he loved, leaving behind a legacy of authenticity. Tommy Chovin survived the unsurvivable twice. Dusty Chrome proved that some men are simply too tough to break. And Tyler the Swamp Dog reminded us all what unconditional loyalty looks like. These are the real stories behind the cameras. Tales of triumph and tragedy, heroism and failure, life and death in the Louisiana bayous. Some cast members found fame and fortune. Others found handcuffs and heartbreak. All of them found their way into our hearts, for better or worse. The swamp remembers everything. And now, so do you. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Who was your favorite cast member before you learned their real story? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from the world of reality television. Because sometimes the truth is stranger than any script could ever be. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time, where we'll dive deeper into the secrets that Hollywood never wanted you to discover.